Hey there and welcome back to another My Hero Academia video. And today we're going to be talking about episode 8, 2 Flashfires, which picks up where the previous episode left off, with the beginning of Dabi versus Shoto, the long-awaited confrontation, whilst also promising a bit of Dabi backstory. And yeah, I would like to say I have read the manga before, but at the same time, it's pretty much all dropped out of my head at this point, you know? So we're flying blind. And so with all that being said, nothing else for it but to jump into the episode. So we start off the episode following a random guerrilla police officer who's patrolling the prison where they're holding Dr. Garaki, who's in turn noticed the lack of guards and has correctly guessed that they're making a move. The final battle has come at last, which in turn sets him up to start monologuing to the gorilla about how Dabi was a failed vessel of All For One. And I gotta wonder, why is he doing this? Like, what's the point of him spilling secrets right now? From a writing point of view, I get it. They need somebody to intercut Dabi's exposition and flashbacks with to give the point of All For One side of the situation, because Dabi doesn't have all the information. But from a character point of view, I don't really understand why he'd suddenly be bringing all this up to this random guy. Specifically talking about Dabi, as opposed to like All For One or Shigaraki. Oh well, guess it's one of those conveniences you just have to look the other way for, right? We then have the intro and we come back to Dabi versus Shoto, and yeah, seems like we've said goodbye to cold and calculating Dabi that we saw contend with Hawks, and now the dude's just become completely unhinged. And I mean, his body is literally just melting away, so I guess sanity, that'd be low on his list of priorities right now. We see Shoto power up what seems to be a new move, and his sidekicks jump in the way to create a buffer before we cut off into a flashback of how Toya became Dabi. And yeah, remember how Endeavor had his whole atonement arc where he's trying to fix what he broke? This flashback made me just shake my head at him once more. Sent me back to square one. What a dick. Toya is there on the mountain waiting for his dad that he wanted to come and show his new moves, and he doesn't show up. And on top of that, we see that his dad was shaking with rage when Toya asked him to come, getting ready to go and beat his wife, no doubt. Then this poor kid gets so upset that he bursts into flames that he can't put out, his jaw melts away, and all he thinks about is that he doesn't want to die, not because he's scared or anything, but because he desperately wants to please his dad and earn his love and affection again. Get him to care about him like he used to. Damn, like look at him, poor bastard. And it gets worse because All For One then comes to collect him too. I wonder what the plan would have been if Endeavor had been there. Was he going to kill him as well? A 2-for-1 special? Kill the dad, steal the boy, get a new vessel? And so Toya goes from a disaster movie to a horror movie as he wakes up in a daycare facility, sort of thing, that's straight up out of a horror film. I like the touch where he wakes up and the narration of his thoughts still uses young Toya's voice, even though when he speaks, it's with the Dabi voice, because he's been unconscious for 3 years, and so his subconscious voice, the one that narrates his thoughts in his head, it hasn't updated yet. I thought that was pretty clever. But yeah, straight up horror movie here, especially when his carer is revealed to be this giant buff dude with the sunflower head who just keeps smiling no matter what. Guess this is another special Nomu like Kurogiri is. Ugh. And this scene's also rather tragic because we see that Dabi wasn't formed in a day. He's still Toya here. He's burned, but he wants to go home and apologize to his mom and his siblings and prove himself to his dad and become a great hero. Man, I didn't think I'd find all of this that sad, but here we are. And of course, there's All For One to toss a big bucket of cold water over everything, telling him that it's not going to work like that. He can't go home because his body was truly ruined, and so they had to fill in missing parts with the regenerative tissue, but his senses and his organs, they're ruined beyond repair. Using his powers could straight up kill him. And of course, as somebody whose entire identity is built around the obsession to become a hero, the obsession to earn his dad's love and praise, well, this makes him snap, and when they won't let him leave, he loses control and kills everybody in the facility by burning it down. Woof! Whilst at the same time, we learn from Garaki that they'd intended to use Dabi as another potential vessel for All For One, like Shigaraki is now. An alternate in case he failed, you know, all those different branching pathways that All For One loves. But in the end, even All For One couldn't bring Dabi around. And they ultimately failed because his obsession with his father was way too strong, to the point that there was no room for anything else. But even still, they don't finish him off because his body was supposed to give out within a month, so they can just leave him there. He had an expiration date, because they had to do work on him like they'd planned, but he refused. And yet he doesn't die, and seemingly lasts years and years until he eventually comes back to them and joins the League of Villains in the wake of the battle versus Stain. And apparently he simply was so resentful, angry, and spite-filled that he refused to die. Organ failure? Forget about it. Skin? Who needs it? I can hold it on with staples. I really just have to brutally murder my dad first. Yikes. If I have the timeline correct, he was surviving like this for years upon years. I know he has no sense of feeling in his body, but my god, what an existence. Also, I love how the cop's just standing there listening to this scalding hot tea. The absolute scoop of the century. Hope he has a recording device. Make his career with this. Poor guy was just doing his rounds, and now he has to listen to the demented ramblings of Garaki giving really heinous proof of how they ruined the lives of so many children. And then it's back to the battle, or the pre-battle really. After all, they're still just kind of standing there talking, and it's revealed that Dabi actually went home after the incident at the care house, hoping to see the dad and the family, and that things would have changed for him. But nope, he sees his dad still pushing Shoto to surpass All Might and becoming a big-time hero, and I guess for Toya, he felt fully replaced. Like his dad and his family, they didn't give a shit that he was dead, which causes him to snap and decide he's going to destroy them all. And so off he goes to train in order to kill his dad and destroy his legacy, and die in the process, living only to ensure that they die together. So in a way, he still wants to see his dad acknowledge him, and for them to be together forever, just in death. Man, this is so sad. It's really creepy and unhinged, but sad still. Anyway, this was all well and good, but it was at this point that I was really wanting the fight to start. I mean, couldn't some of these flashbacks have been interspersed with the actual battle? But yeah, the battle begins at last, and Dabi powers up even further and unleashes a Hell Spider, which is blocked by the Goon Squad. Although I gotta say, a lot of other heroes were shown too. I kind of thought they were already dead. They just standing in the fire? But yeah, Dabi freaks out and manages to get behind them with ease, and he pummels Shoto, unleashing his inner jealousy and launching him into a building. Damn! Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I wanted. I'm loving the intensity here. Maybe it was the right call to have the exposition before the battle, because you wouldn't want to intercut this frantic pace with really long flashbacks, would you? I was wrong. Until, of course, we instantly get one long flashback where it's revealed that Dabi's flame is cooling off due to Shoto's new special move that he made specifically to counter his brother's power. But instead of ruining the flow like I thought it would, it just works. They build this tension to a big power move, revealing that Shoto is completely fine after being smashed into a building. He's happy that his brother finally acknowledges him, and he's actually made a move specifically to defeat him. A sort of ice fire. Looks really awesome. Also, the Endeavor theme playing in the background of this entire segment where this is all revealed, and he shows Deku the move in a flashback. This is so awesome. This is so hype. The episode's really living up to what I wanted so far. And so, the brothers fight, and Shoto hits him a little bit, gets him on the back foot. Also, Dabi's pants are doing very well for themselves. What are they made of? His shirt was ruined by the heat, but not his pants and shoes. And yes, Shoto whoops him a little bit, but then his cold flame goes out and he has to start over. So he's left open to an attack, Dabi powers up again, and the visuals here, they're just going nuts. The visuals, the action, the Endeavor theme with the woman warbling in the background. This battle's going so hard. The sidekicks stepping in to stop Shoto getting blasted and them collapsing afterwards from what I assume is heat exhaustion, while Shoto remembers his mum telling him that it's okay to be who he wants to be. He remembers his classmates always being there for him and making him feel safe. So wholesome. And then his dad and other heroes teaching him how to perfect his super moves before he charges through the flames and KOs Dabi with a big ice fire punch to the stomach. This fight was good. It did not last long. It was so fun. Although, I gotta say, I very much doubt this battle's over because it feels like Dabi has more to give, and Endeavor feels like he really should be there for the final defeat, so I think he's gonna get back up after this. But for now, Phase 1 was awesome. Great image to end the episode on, and then in the preview we see next up, All For One versus Endeavor and Hawks in a battle to the death, so that's very exciting. And so, yeah, not much else to say. That's the end of the episode and the end of the review. And so with all that being said, these have just been my opinions, and I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of the episode? Do you like it? Hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.